And we are back, week 17 of the college football season, and we start the college football playoffs. This Friday and Saturday, the 4 first-round college football playoff games start from college campuses, and we're going to predict all of those games plus more because we have got, I believe, 7 bowl games this week, plus the final 4 of the FCS playoffs, all to predict in today's video. Last week, 3-0 on our predictions for the games that we did for the bowl games. Army-Navy, we cashed with Army spread. Washington destroys Boise like we thought. And the Celebration Bowl, shout out to Prairie View for covering in the Celebration Bowl. They blew a big lead against South Carolina State, but whatever. Prairie View covered. That's all that we care about. So a 3-0 week last week for bowl season. Let's look for more of the same. Like I said last week, we're going to come on every single Monday and do these prediction videos going forward. So I'm going to go from every game this week, Tuesday through early Monday morning. So we are going to finish the video with the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. And every Monday, we're going to address that week's bowl action until obviously the end of bowl season. So we're going to have all these weeks' games. I think 11 total plus the 2 FCS games, so 13. And let's do it, folks. If you have not yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more college football predictions here on the channel. Likely no more best bets just because there's not many games to go over, and I'll just tell you all my... I'll say if the game is... I'll say if I'm going to... I'll probably bet on everything. I'm not... just take every game with a grain of salt, okay? I think they're all playable to an extent. And I'll tell you here, I'll say this. If a game's not bettable, I'll say don't bet it. But for the most part, I would feel okay playing all of these. Before we get into it, folks, daily college basketball and NBA best bets on the channel, so go make sure to check those out if you have not yet. Also, Greedo plays in May later today. PFL predictions, so make sure you go check that out. Okay. First of our games this week, let's kick things off with our first bowl game, which would be the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama. It is an all-Alabama matchup between the Troy Trojans from Troy, Alabama, and the Jacksonville State Gamecocks from Jacksonville, Alabama. I'm going with Jack State to win the football game. I don't know why they're plus money. I saw this immediately when the bowls were announced, and when Troy opened as a favorite, they're still favored. Why? I don't understand this. Yes, I know Troy just played JMU real tight, and this is the losers of the Sun Belt Championship game and the CUSA Championship game. Later in this video, we're going to get to the Myrtle Beach Bowl, which is the winners of both the MAC and the CUSA, but here are the losers of the CUSA, obviously, and the Sun Belt as well. So Troy had a chance to really shake up the college football world. If they had beaten James Madison, we likely would have seen Duke in the postseason, I think. That's probably the team that would have been next up. Maybe Boise, probably not Kennesaw. It probably would have been Duke if Troy had beaten James Madison. And in the first half, Troy looked pretty solid against the James Madison Dukes, but James Madison eventually got away from Troy. Now, Troy started the year with Goose Crowder at quarterback. They then switched to Tucker Kilcrease. Kilcrease had a crazy run, and for some reason they benched him again, or they benched Kilcrease for the first time, went back to Crowder. Crowder's been all right. No, he's been good since he's come back. I just didn't feel like Kilcrease got a fair shot, and I believe Tucker Kilcrease will be entering the transfer portal very soon for his senior year. And that's another thing I have to mention in this video. The portal is open, but there's not many players in the portal yet. So next week, it's going to become a big factor, obviously, when we talk about the Power 4 teams in bowl games, not in the playoffs, and random team, I don't know. Minnesota, like how many guys are going to opt out of Minnesota's rate bowl game against New Mexico to jump in the portal? I don't know, right? So that's going to be more of a factor next week because you usually see the G5 guys play their bowl games. So not that big of a factor this week, but we do need to be aware of what's going on in the transfer portal to a certain extent and if big-time players aren't playing. But I can tell you this, Troy's going to have most of their guys going. Jack State's going to have most of their guys going. And in a game in which I expect both teams to be close to 100%, I'm going Jacksonville State. Guys, Jacksonville State's run game is very good. And yes, they lost to Kennesaw in a game that they choked away. Yes, they were down big early, but they stormed back, scored a bunch of points unanswered, and had a lead and gave up a third and 17. And then, obviously they converted on fourth down. Jack State, so many missed opportunities to win that game at home. They were up 15-12 after being down 12-0, and Amari Odom and Kennesaw State drove down the field and won their first ever CUSA championship game. But what is still the case about Jack State is their run game is so dominant. Caden Creel and Cam Cook, the two backs Creel's the quarterback. Cam Cook is obviously maybe the best, best player in the CUSA by far this season. 1,600 rushing yards, maybe more. Did he get 17? He will get to 17 with this Veterans Bowl game. We'll see what happens to Cam Cook. Again, he has not entered the transfer portal as of Sunday night. I don't know if he's going to enter the NFL draft. I don't know if he's going to go to the Power 4. But for now, as of, again, Sunday night, Cam Cook is playing in the Salute to Veterans Bowl. That's massive. And Jack State is he 6'8" or 6'9"? 6'8" receiver in DeAndre Johnson, who was academically ineligible earlier in the season. Sophomore, he's playing now, and he is pretty good for being such a huge guy. He's 6'8". That's a target to watch out for. Really the only player that Jack State can consistently throw the football to. But for Troy, right, you go back to Goose Crowder after Tucker Kilcrease. I get it. Tay Meadows, not Parker Meadows. Tay Meadows is their lead back. Meadows, though, is in the transfer portal. So that's one of the, if I'm not mistaken, right? I need to clarify that. I need to make sure, because I've been looking at a lot of guys in the portal. No, I apologize. I thought there's a running back in this video that's in the transfer portal. That is my fault. I thought it was Tay Meadows. I thought it was. Apparently it's not. I need to check this again. Regardless, though, Tay Meadows has been a leading back for Troy all year long. Again, they want to be pass heavy. They do have a run game. Again, Meadows had like 600 yards this season. So we'll see what big of a factor the run game has. I thought Meadows was in the portal. No, he is in the portal. Okay, so I don't know why 24/7 had different guys in the portal than On3. But yes, according to On3, Tay Meadows is in the transfer portal. So I don't know why 24/7 did not have him in the portal. So we have some inconsistency going on. I think he's in the portal. So I would not expect Tay Meadows to play. You're going to be on a backup running back for Troy. You're going with Kilcrease, sure. Kilcrease is going to make mistakes. They'll air it out, but he's going to make mistakes. Sorry, Goose Crowder is going to make mistakes. I'm going to go Jack State here. I like the run game. I like what Creel and Cook can do. I understand it was a disappointing end of their year in the CUSA championship game, but it's a style that you don't see. It's just straight, they're going to run the ball down your throat. They'll go straight read option all game long, and they've got two guys, again, their quarterback and running back, who are so dangerous. Again, games in Alabama between two Alabama teams should be a fun one. I'm going with Jacksonville State to win it, and I don't know why they're dogs here. Sure, it's a pass first team versus a run first team. I'm going to take the run heavy team in Jack State at plus money. I think that's where all the value's at here. Plus 120 for Jacksonville State to beat the Troy Trojans. Let's go to Wednesday's games now, and our first being the Staff DNA Cure Bowl between the Old Dominion Monarchs and the USF Bulls. Games in Orlando, so not a home game for USF, but a home state game for the South Florida Bulls, right? Old Dominion coming down south for this one, South Florida staying in their state. I like USF to win and cover. I know USF's end of their year was a little anticlimactic for what they did at the beginning of the year because they beat Boise State. They had beaten Florida when they were 13th, right? As USF was getting top 15 votes. Sure, they lost to Miami, but all they needed to do was go 11-1, and they would have easily, or 12-1, they would have easily been the group of five, or I guess one of the group of five teams in the college football playoffs. But then they lost to Memphis on the road. And then they went to Navy and lost. And then their season was over. But regardless of what happens, USF's going to score points. So if you're ODU, be prepared to score quite a bit. Now, the thing about the Monarchs is earlier in the year, Old Dominion was thought of potentially being that G5 representative. They had lost in their first game of the year against Indiana. They scored early in the first quarter and late in the fourth quarter against the Hoosiers and only lost by 13 points. Colton Joseph, starting quarterback for the Monarchs, dual threat guy. He's dangerous, right? Colton Joseph is a very difficult guy to co-play against. Problem, he's not playing this game. Colton Joseph's in the transfer portal, just finished his sophomore year, not playing this game, and there's quite a bit of players who aren't going to be giving it a go on Wednesday for Old Dominion. So you're going to be shorthanded against this USF team. South Florida, their explosive pass game with Byron Brown. As of now, there's not a single player on USF in the portal. That's meaningful. So Byron Brown's playing, all those offensive weapons in Keyshawn Singleton, Davenport, Jeremiah Coger, those guys are playing. Unless I hear otherwise, all these guys are going. So you get a full-strength USF team against Old Dominion on a backup quarterback. Their backup quarterback is Quinn Heinkel, freshman quarterback. He's played like a couple snaps. Don't love that. You're making your first start against USF. Yes, USF's defense, it is soft. I mean, you can go right through this defense as we've seen time in and time out this year. The problem, though, you have to score 1 million points against USF. I don't like ODU's chances with this. Guys, I'm serious. USF's going to score 40-something points. Minimum. They go up-tempo. They're on the ball. They kind of play laxed football. And what I mean by that, obviously, is like, it seems like some games USF just doesn't care. They're, laughing on the sidelines. They're, bobbing up and down on the sidelines. They get on the field and they kind of just play backyard football and start throwing it downfield. It works, though, against mediocre teams. Not saying ODU throughout the entire year was mediocre. They had their games, right? They went to VTech and won. They were pretty good in the Sun Belt. They finished second in the Sun Belt East, only behind, obviously, the James Madison Dukes. Sure, they're shorthanded tonight. And that's a problem. And that's, unfortunately, what's happening to the bowl season. But no Colton Joseph. You're without a couple of your linemen. I believe you got a couple of their players out as well. It's just... yeah, it's going to be tough for them tonight. It is. Backup quarterback against a USF team that forces you to score all the time. I just don't like their chances personally. I don't like it at all. I think USF's going to score about 40, and I just don't think Old Dominion can be competitive without Colton Joseph. We shall see. But Byron Brown, this is the guy who's going to throw for 300 yards on you. He's going to run for 100 yards on you. Byron Brown was I don't know if he got into the 3,000s passing wise. He did. 3,000 passing yards, 1,000 rushing yards. Difficult guy to go out there and approach defensively. Sure, the defense for USF, they can get beat. But on a backup quarterback making his first ever career start, I just don't like it. It's a weird spot, I will say, right? Wednesday game at 5 o'clock, but on the East Coast for the Cure Bowl. It's one of the games that usually doesn't really get featured. This was, I think, for the longest time, this was one of the 2 or 3 bowl games CBS had. It was on the CBS Sports Network. CBS has 0 bowl games now in this slate. So this one's on ESPN. ESPN got the Cure Bowl now at Camping World. It's, Camping World's home of 3 bowl games. I just think ODU's going to lose this game. USF has way too much talent for this team, especially without Colton Joseph, and I'm serious about USF scoring every single time they touch the ball. I'm going to go USF to win this game in Orlando, -3.5, -170. Love this spot for the Bulls as we move on to our next game, and if you want to parlay the two, you can. These aren't a doubleheader on ESPN, so you can just sit on the couch and watch both of these back-to-back. I don't know if I would suggest parlaying these, but anyways, here is the Louisiana Raging Cajuns taking on the Delaware Blue Hens from the 68 Ventures Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. I'm going to be going with Louisiana to win this game. Both 6-6 teams here as the Raging Cajuns went 6-6 in the Sun Belt, and Delaware in their first year of FBS Division I football went 6-6 in the Conference USA. Delaware was so confusing this year, though. Really, they had games where they were super high scoring, but then they just also have games where they completely laid eggs, too. Hens lay eggs, right? Yeah, I didn't mean to, regardless. That was no pun intended there. Anyways, Nick Minchiucci, starting quarterback of Delaware, is a very capable guy, 100%. Minchiucci can take over games, but Delaware defensively will have nights where they, again, are kind of like USF, and they just don't get stops. The main one to look at is Liberty. Earlier in the year, we had Delaware moneyline, or Delaware spread, was it? Moneyline or spread. They went to Liberty, and they had 59 points put on them. The offense will score, but they will make mistakes at times. Minchiucci is not afraid to sling it downfield. He's going to throw some picks, but Minchiucci's having a great season for Delaware in their first year in the FBS. Main running backs, Joe Silver, Sean Wilson, and Kyrie Duplessis are the 2 main running backs for the Blue Hens as well. But it's a team that's not afraid to take shots, but those shots and those risks that they take at the same time do get them into some trouble. Delaware went 6-6 this season. They really fell off in the second half of the year. They started 3-1, only lost to Colorado early in the year. They beat UConn. Big victory, their first victory against a Division I or FBS team. UConn came into Delaware, and Minchiucci and the Blue Hens beat them 44-41 in overtime. Crazy game. Then they went on to beat FIU at Pitbull Stadium in Miami, and then it kind of just all came crashing down. Played WKU, lost the game at the last second against Western Kentucky, went to Jack State and got beat up on lowly Middle Tennessee, then obviously lost to Liberty and gave up 59 points, beat Lott Tech by 1 point, went to Sam Houston and lost to a mightily struggling Bearcats team, went to Wake Forest obviously and lost, and 5-6 going into the final week of the year against a bad UTEP Miners team, and fortunately for the Blue Hens, they found their way into bowl season, but they found their way into bowl season off of wins against teams that don't have winning records. They beat one team this year who had a winning record. It's UConn. Then FIU finished with 6 or 7 wins. They got 7. Wow. How the hell did that team get 7 victories? They're favored to beat UTSA too, which I don't understand. More on that next week. Regardless of all this, though, I think the Raging Cajuns are going to win. I think so. We have seen nothing in the portal, no portal movement out of either of these teams. And Louisiana, you got to approach this game with who's playing better football right now. And also, by the way, I don't know, this is always a weird thing with bowl games too. Like we talk about this all the time with college basketball and neutral site games. Like, okay, what team's going to have the home court advantage? Obviously in basketball. And they say the same thing for bowl games, right? Which team is going to have the bigger following at this game? Which team is going to have the bigger fan base at the game? I don't know if either Louisiana or Delaware are going to be bringing in the most fans, but if it's either team, it's going to be Louisiana. Game's obviously in the South. It's in Alabama. Delaware coming up from the Northeast, so that is somewhat of a factor. But ultimately, what I was getting to earlier, when you're looking at this game, I think in two teams who are 6-6 barely got into the bowl season in general, and we're going to have our fair share of 5-7 teams in the bowl season next week. You got to look at what teams playing better right now and playing better recently. It's quite easily the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. This is a team that started the year at quarterback. Told the story quite a bit, but Walker Howard started at quarterback. Landry Kiffin, ex-boyfriend. Obviously, she's on to Whit Weeks, and I haven't really talked about Lane Kiffin too much, but he's at LSU now, so that's great. Anyways, they start with Walker Howard. He gets injured in the first or second week of the year. Daniel Beal takes over. Beal gets benched due to performance reasons, so in comes Lunch Winfield. Lunch Winfield has been a spark plug for Louisiana. He's been phenomenal for this team. Sophomore quarterback who is a dual threat, can torch you through the air, can affect you through the air and torch you on the ground, I should say. But anyways, Louisiana were 2-6. They needed to win out to make a bowl game, and they did exactly that. 4 straight victories over South Alabama on the road, Texas State at home, Arkansas State on the road, and UL Monroe in their final game in overtime. And again, they are used to winning in Mobile, Alabama. They did it against South Alabama on the road this season. So they're playing in a Sun Belt environment against, in a stadium that they've already won at already this year. And I think they should be able to beat the Blue Hens because of Lunch Winfield and the offense. He's a dual threat guy that is hard to contain, and I think defensively, I like the Raging Cajuns a lot more than I like the Blue Hens. I know the Raging Cajuns give up some points. Guys, some of these Sun Belt offenses, though, are really good. Like, Texas State and Brad Jackson, they can give you trouble. Jalen Raynor and Arkansas State, going to talk about them in a second, that's trouble. ULM with Aiden Armetta and those guys, not really. But Marshall and Carl Storiel Wilson scoring 51 points, okay. If these Sun Belt teams played against Delaware, they're scoring a lot of points too. And I don't want to pick a trend here. I think the CUSA beyond Jack State is going to really struggle in bowl season. I don't know. The matchups that I'm seeing right now, I think it might be tough for the CUSA. I don't know. We'll see. I just don't think CUSA level football is on the same level as even the Sun Belt. And Delaware has not played good teams yet, other than UConn. We'll give them the UConn game. But their conference games have been such low level, and they're not playing good football. I'm going with the Raging Cajuns to win this game in Mobile. It will kind of be a home game for them. I'm going to go with Louisiana, -2.5 and -145 to beat the Delaware Blue Hens. On to our next game and on to our next bowl game. Let's move to the only game on Thursday, and this is the Xbox Bowl. Supposed to be the Bahamas Bowl. So unfortunately for both Missouri State and Arkansas State, they were supposed to take a trip to the Bahamas. Now, they never got actually booked in the Bahamas Bowl because they switched it before they announced the bowl games, but in an alternate reality, Missouri State and Arkansas State would have gotten to play in the Bahamas in January, but this is now the replacement game, which of course, again, is the Xbox Bowl. Playing in Frisco, Texas, just like how the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl is going to be played at next week, and we'll get into those games, obviously, next Monday, but it's another bowl game in Frisco, Texas. First one ever, Xbox Bowl, and it's between the Missouri State Bears in their first ever bowl game and the Arkansas State Red Wolves. So we got 7-5 Missouri State taking on 6-6 Arkansas State. Now, I am going to follow my trend here. I don't think the CUSA is going to do that well in this matchup. From what I have seen, I need to check again because apparently different recruiting websites have different thoughts about the transfer portal, but Missouri State is not that affected by the portal, if at all. Yeah, they have a couple guys in the portal, but obviously starting quarterback Jacob Lawrence is not in the portal. Jacob Clark's not in the portal, being a senior season, and they are relatively fine at Shamari Lawrence, obviously, is their running back. My apologies there. They're going to be okay in the portal. I think they're missing a couple defensive players I think are transferring out already, but for the most part, Missouri State's going to be okay. In terms of Arkansas State, we know what this team can do. They've been up and down this season. Obviously, with Jalen Raynor at quarterback, they are fine at the portal too. I don't think there's really anybody so far in the portal this season for Arkansas State. So we're going to get two offenses that are capable, but can they put it together in this one? I think Arkansas State at least can. I've been harsh on this team because they started the year 1-4 and they lost to ULM, and I think ULM's the absolute worst. They're like the worst team in the Sun Belt by far. And Arkansas State had lost a game in Monroe, Louisiana earlier this season, but then 4 straight victories in Sun Belt play over Texas State, South Alabama, and Georgia Southern and Troy were massive, especially the win on the road at Troy. Got Arkansas State at 5-4. But then back-to-back L's to the Raging Cajuns and Southern Miss got them at 5-6. They had to win their last game against App State to become bowl eligible, and they did exactly that. However, App State is going to get into a bowl game regardless at 5-7. Deeper Than Hate Part 2, December 29th against Georgia Southern. College football. A rivalry game in bowl season. Can't wait. That's going to be fun. Not going to lie. That's going to be really fun. We'll get to that in a couple weeks. But Arkansas State is bowl eligible. They're 6-6, and Jalen Raynor has played better football as the season has progressed. I remember that South Alabama game on the road. He was very bad on a Tuesday night. Just overthrowing guys, really rushing in the pocket. Raynor has looked much better over the last couple weeks, and I think he's going to have a really good game against Missouri State here. Again, Jalen Raynor, 3,000 yards this season. He hasn't transferred out yet. I thought for the longest time this year, Raynor is probably going to leave Arkansas State, and maybe he still will, but for now, he's going to play the bowl game against Jacob Clark, Shamari Lawrence, and the Missouri State Bears. Obviously, like Delaware, this is Missouri State's first year in Division I FBS football, and Jacob Clark's had a good season. However, Missouri State at one point was 7-3, picked up a huge win at Liberty to become bowl eligible. They were talking crap to the fans. They've lost back-to-back games, though. Losing at Kennesaw, not concerned. Losing at home to La Tech to end your year, though, on your senior night, I don't like that. I don't. I know La Tech's defense is really good, but you're at home and you still scored 30 points against Louisiana Tech. What's more concerning is that La Tech scored 42 points on you. La Tech doesn't throw the ball. They run Wildcat half of the game, and it's run the entire night. And they went to Missouri State and beat the Bears? Don't love that. Now, again, stylistically, that's not really what Arkansas State's going to do. Devin Spencer's the lead back. They're trying to get the ball in their star receiver's hands, and that's Corey Rucker. But I just don't love what Missouri State's been offering defensively. And now you got to take on Arkansas State, who is a dynamic offense with a good dynamic quarterback. Yeah, I'm going to go with Arkansas State here. I'm going to go with the Red Wolves to win this basketball game. I've been talking about too much college basketball, again, daily on the channel. I'm going to take Arkansas State to win this football game. -115. Games in Frisco, Texas. It should be Arkansas, Missouri. About the same distance, I think, to Frisco, I think. Still, I think Arkansas State's going to get it done. More experienced team, and just the way Missouri State's been playing recently, don't love it. And again, the whole factor, too, I want to say, of the CUSA. The CUSA is just so low level, I think, at times. And yeah, Missouri State beat Marshall earlier this year before Carlos Del Rio Wilson took over. Here's the thing, though, right? You've gotten used to CUSA football for 8 weeks, and now you got to play a team who's not in the CUSA, who's been playing tougher competition, and has a way more explosive offense as most teams you see in the CUSA. So I'm going to go with Ark State here in this spot. We get about even money for this game, so I'm going to take Arkansas State money line -115 to beat Missouri State in the Xbox Bowl. On to our Friday games, and we go first to the Myrtle Beach Bowl, as we've got the champions of the Conference USA, that would be the Kennesaw State Owls, taking on the champions of the Mid-American Conference in the West Michigan Broncos. Why is this game on at 8 o'clock in the morning? Guys, I love college football. I'm not getting up at 8 in the morning. I haven't gotten up at 8 in the morning in a very long time. So, I'll watch the highlights. I will say I would not bet on this one, though. I'm not just saying that, conveniently, because I'm not going to probably be awake for this game, or at least for the first 3 quarters of this game. No, I don't love West Michigan at -3.5. I think they win. I think they cover. If this year has taught me anything about Jerry Mack and Kennesaw State, don't underestimate the Owls. Don't do it. I am picking against them. I'm not going to put my U.S. currency against Kennesaw State. And this is not me saying, oh, it's the CUSA. I'm not going to use that reasoning here. I'm taking West Michigan because of the defense and because of the fact that their offense, isn't great, but they find ways to get it done on the ground. Kennesaw State was all right defensively against Jack State and their really good run game, but It's just West Michigan's defense is 10 times better than what Jack State has defensively. So I think we see one of these kind of gritty, low-scoring football games that West Michigan just barely gets out of and probably wins by 7 points. Again, don't love the bet. I probably wouldn't bet the spread. I would not parlay a money line here at all. And I think, again, the winner of the game is Western Michigan. I'm not picking these games for betting purposes. I'm picking them for just to pick winners of bowl games. And I think that the better team is West Michigan. But I'm not confident, again, I'm not that confident in it at all. Because, guys, the Broncos have games where they don't throw the football. Or at least Brock Lowry's got like 30 passing yards because they're just killing teams on the ground with the legs of Brock Lowry and their lead running back in Jalen Buckley. Brock Lowry had 940 yards on the ground this season. Jalen Buckley had 830 yards on the ground this year for the Mid-American champions, who came off a huge victory beating the Miami of Ohio Redhawks in the MAC championship game. No one in the portal, at least as of yet, for West Michigan. Again, this could potentially change. You know, the wild world of college football. Who knows what's going to happen? And Kennesaw is just without a couple secondary pieces, but for the most part, we've got the expected players going for this game. I think WMU gets it. I think that defense is really going to give Kennesaw problems. I think the pass rush out of West Michigan is going to be troublesome for the Kennesaw State Owls. And don't get me wrong, right? It's been a great year for Kennesaw. What Amari Odom has done, I mean, that last drive to take the lead, you're down, 3 points was it? Yeah, down 3 points, end of the football game. You were up 12-0. Now you're down 3 at the end of the game against Jack State at Jacksonville, Alabama. The fact that Kennesaw worked the ball downfield and found a way to score at the end of the game, 3rd and 17, 4th and 11, 4th and 12, and Amari Odom's running for first downs. That's incredible. That's remarkable stuff out of a second-year FBS program who struggled mightily last year on a new coach and Jerry Mack, who I didn't think the Jerry Mack hiring was bad. I just didn't understand why they had fired their previous coach. Regardless, Kennesaw has figured it out this season, and they've been phenomenal. Defensively, they are pretty good too. I just think WMU is going to win a real gritty, grind-em-out game. These high-scoring Kennesaw games we've gotten, I don't think you're going to get that this week. Because nobody puts up points against West Michigan. Like, at all. North Texas, one of the best offenses in the G5, Drew Mestemaker in that team, scored 33 points in overtime against WMU. And, like, that's the highest any team has scored on West Michigan at the G5 level all year long. I know Michigan State was not a great team this year, but WMU went to East Lansing earlier this season and lost by 17 points, 23-6, in a low-scoring defensive battle against Michigan State. It's just what they do. They play gritty football games. It's not pretty, but they get it done, and that's just kind of how all of their games in the MAC have been this year. They lost one game in the MAC. It was against Miami of Ohio, and they got their get-back in the MAC championship game. Sure, no Daquan Finn, but I like what the Broncos do, man. I think what they offer stylistically is going to be difficult here for Kennesaw State, and I'm going to be going with the West Michigan Broncos to win the Myrtle Beach Bowl, right? CUSA champion versus MAC champion. I think the MAC gets the better of them here, and I think it is going to be all dependent on that West Michigan defense, but I think the Broncos are going to force Kennesaw State to play their style of game, and that's going to make it really tough on the Owls. I like Kennesaw, but I got to go with WMU here to win the Myrtle Beach Bowl. On to our next game, the final bowl game before the playoffs, and then we're going to get into the FCS playoffs after the playoffs, and we'll have one bowl game after the playoffs as well, so stick around for the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. But anyways, let's go now to the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Remember when this was the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl? The Bad Boy Mowers got the Pinstripe Bowl now, so no need to fear. Anyways, our next game, Memphis takes on North Carolina State, and NC State's a 5.5-point favorite. While that may seem to be a lot of points, it's really not, and I think it's actually quite a good line on NC State. The second half collapse for Memphis this season was just absurd. The team fell apart, and I understand NC State's got quite a... actually, I think North Carolina State's got quite a bit of guys in the portal. No, they don't. That's my mistake. North Carolina's got a lot of guys in the portal. NC State, for now, is completely free of the portal. So it's weird because it depends on what Power 4 program you look at. Because some Power 4s, you're seeing all these guys flee. Obviously, there's some Power 4s that turn down bowl games. I'm not just talking about Notre Dame, which Notre Dame, you're a disgrace for turning down the Pop-Tart Bowl, but whatever. It depends on the program, because you're getting, at least for now, this North Carolina State team is buying into playing one more game against a group of 5 team with really nothing to win other than becoming the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl champions. Regardless, though, I'm going to be taking North Carolina State to win and destroy Memphis, because Memphis, at the end of the year, piss poor efforts in 3 straight games. Memphis, and like South Florida, all they needed to do, even when they lost to UAB, when they went to UAB and got upset with Brandon Lewis getting injured in the game, all you needed to do was win out. They beat South Florida immediately after losing to UAB. They got their get back and they put themselves right back in the rankings by beating South Florida. They beat Rice in the road. 3 wins, you're in. You lose to Tulane at home. Okay. Tulane at the time wasn't really thought of as a playoff team. They already had 2 losses. They had gotten blown out in the Alamo Dome against UTSA, and I didn't really think Tulane was going to get back ever to the top of the American this season. But then they went to Memphis and won. Okay, Memphis then gets the rebound against Caden Hauser and ECU. They lose on the road. And they lose on Thanksgiving at home to Navy. And if you watched that game, don't blame me if you didn't watch college football on Thanksgiving, but the environment was just so dead. I get it was Thanksgiving, but I don't know. And I was looking around Twitter about that game too, and everything I'm seeing is just like, yeah, Memphis on the sidelines, they look depleted. There's no energy on this team, and that's how it felt watching the game itself. And sure, again, that maybe is just what happens to you when you're playing Blake Horvath and you're playing that team and Tezca and Heidenreich, and they're grinding you out and taking big shots every once in a while. Maybe that's what happens to you. But as Navy in the second half just started to put it on Memphis, but they just look so uninspired, and it looks like it just at the end of the year, they just looked like they didn't care. Even the ECU game, they were in it, but it didn't feel like the same Memphis team as they were earlier in the year. And now they got to play an ACC school? I know the ACC was not at its best this year. Your team that was supposed to win the ACC in Virginia loses to Duke, and the committee found their way to save college football and put Miami in the playoffs, which was the right move. Don't get me wrong. Miami definitely should have been in over Notre Dame. Now Alabama, whatever, but it is what it is. Good on Brigham Young, kind of got screwed, but it's okay. Miami's in the playoffs. That's fine. We'll have more on them later. I don't care. The ACC may be mid. North Carolina State's not losing to Memphis. Nope. NC State's also been playing better football. They won 3 out of their last 4. Don't forget their dominance of Georgia Tech at home in Raleigh. Georgia Tech was top 10 team in the country, controlling their path to the postseason. They walk into Raleigh, and North Carolina State put up 48 points in them. They were up 21-0 before you could blink in that game. And yeah, NC State went to Miami and got blown out, but then how do they respond? Back-to-back wins at home in Raleigh, beating Florida State by 10 points, beating Bill Belichick in North Carolina by 30 points or 20 points. Big ways to end the season for NC State. And as for now, nobody in the portal. So that means big-time players for NC State as of now are playing this game, and guys who are underclassmen are playing. I guess maybe they have commitment to CJ Bailey. Bailey, who took over last year as a starting quarterback, obviously, when Grayson McCall had to medically retire. CJ Bailey and Hollywood Smothers were both freshmen last year. They're sophomores now. They played fairly well this season. For now, both Bailey and Smothers are playing in the Gasparilla Bowl. And if these guys are playing, they are going to put it on Memphis. Games in Tampa, Florida at Raymond James. I think this is dominance for North Carolina State. I think offensively, they're really going to put it on the Tigers. And again, if Memphis just comes out flat like they have in their last 3 games, they're not going to be able to stay close in this one. Think about the all-around talent playing this game. And like we saw last year, right, with the Detroit or the Games Above Sports Bowl, G5 teams can have chances if you get a lot of opt-outs. Or if you're, sorry, let me clarify. If you're not that great G5 team, you have a chance if the Power 4 team has a lot of opt-outs. But when you get Power 4 versus Power 4, a mid-Power 4 team versus a mid-G5 team, the discrepancy is even crazier than a high-level Power 4 team and a high-level G5 team because, again, Memphis went 8-4 in the G5 and they lost their last 3. NC State went 7-5 in the ACC. The talent is just, it's not even close. Give me North Carolina State. I'm taking the Wolfpack here, -5.5. They should win this game by double digits and multiple touchdowns in the Gasparilla Bowl. NC State is your 2025 Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl champs. NC State wins, -5.5. Okay, on now to the first playoff game, first of 4. We're gonna key in on these a little bit more than the other games. First up, Friday night, Norman, Oklahoma, Alabama, Oklahoma. Give me the Sooners. Winners take on the number 1 seeded Indiana Hoosiers. Can't believe I'm saying it. The Hoosiers, number 1 seed in college football. The Heisman Fernando Mendoza, Walter Camp winner, O'Brien winner. It's absurd, crazy. Fernando, man, what a guy. Winner of this game takes on the Hoosiers in the Rose Bowl. And I will... Okay, Indiana's going to be both these teams. Okay, and maybe I'll get into that in a second. But Indiana, by far, will easily beat both these teams. They're favored already by 10.5 points against Oklahoma, 9.5 points against Alabama. Sign me up for the Rose Bowl. If the Rose Bowl isn't $500, I'd make the drive down to Pasadena. But, yeah. Anyways, who's going to play Indiana, though? I believe it's going to be the Sooners. Guys, we've already seen the game. And I know Alabama's supposed to get healthy. Jam Miller's supposed to play. They're supposed to be fully healthy going into this one for the most part. O-line should be fairly healthy. Guys, we've already seen this one this year, and they played it in Tuscaloosa. And Oklahoma gets out to a hot start. They're up 10-0, and they never give that lead back. Actually, no, they did. Bama scored in the third quarter, and Oklahoma had to go down the field and kick a field goal. No, yeah, Oklahoma's going to win this game. 100%. That defense is good. Alabama does not have the offense to bail themselves out against a very dangerous Oklahoma defensive unit. Only elite offenses can beat this Oklahoma defense, and those elite offenses are waiting in the second round. I'm telling you, that's Ohio State, that's Indiana. I don't think Bama has the offense to do it. Guys, I've watched Ty Simpson over the last couple weeks. A disastrous SEC championship game. They couldn't run the ball. I mean, you know, what we saw in the Iron Bowl was smoke and mirrors. Oh, they were running the ball at will at Jam Miller. I know, again, Jam Miller gets injured, but you couldn't run the ball. There was nowhere to run against Georgia. I mean, yes, a lot of running the football and just football in general is the running back. But at the same time, if you don't get a push up front and if you aren't getting any movement up front with your line, you could put the best running back in the world in the backfield. He's not going to get more than 3 yards. Not going to get more than 2 yards. And it's not helping when Ty Simpson has been a average SEC quarterback over the last couple of weeks. Now Alabama's got to go play this defense against the team that they already lost to, but they already lost to at home. And now you expect them to go to a road environment in a night game at 7 o'clock at night at Oklahoma after game day at Oklahoma, and you expect them to win this one? Don't think so. Don't think so. Is Oklahoma great offensively? Hell no. And that's why I like the matchup either way for the Hoosiers, okay? Either way, I love this one for Indiana. But I think the game being at Oklahoma is going to make the difference. I think maybe if the game was at Alabama, I think Alabama probably gets them the second time around. Because I'm not impressed at all about the Oklahoma offense. John Mateer has not been the same guy since the injury, since the hand injury. Last game against LSU, Oklahoma was in danger. If they had lost that game, they would have been out of the playoffs, and that would have made the entire sequence a lot easier for the committee. You would have put Bama and Notre Dame and Miami in, but Oklahoma survived against LSU. They're 10-2. They're ranked 8th in the country at the time. Obviously, you can't send them out of the postseason, and it was a big late game showing out of the Sooners. Down at 10-3 in the third quarter, John Mateer hit Deion Burks for a 45-yard touchdown after a punt return. LSU then kicked a go-ahead field goal, and then Oklahoma scored with, I think, 4 minutes to go on a 58-yard touchdown pass. The Sooners win by 4, and again, just survive. But that's the thing. That defense, holding LSU to only 13 points, that was enough, because Mateer, 3 picks, 300 yards, cool. Again, he has not been the same guy since the injury. Obviously, right, John Mateer, former Washington State quarterback, a player who I expect to be back at Oklahoma last year. I mean, for the first half of the season, there was a lot of discussion about John Mateer winning the Heisman Trophy. He was very involved in the conversation. It was early season him and Arch Manning. Obviously, both of those guys fell way out of the race. Jeremiah Smith was involved as well in the race, and Mateer's injury obviously really stunted anything he had going, but he has not played phenomenal football since that injury. He has not at all. They've relied on the defense, they've relied on the run game, and that is concerning. At the same time, you can completely see the holes in Alabama currently. Defensively, are they going to be okay against Oklahoma? Potentially. But offensively, there is problems for them against this defense. I'm just saying, this game has the making of being very boring. Out of all 4 of the playoff games, this has the lowest over-under, and it might have the lowest over-under in any bowl game in general. I'm looking through right now. I believe it does, yes. Oklahoma, Alabama has the lowest over-under in any game in bowl season currently. Obviously, we don't have the odds for the second round of the playoffs, but yeah, 40.5 is the lowest. The next closest is LSU Houston, shocker, in the Texas Bowl at the 41.5 over-under. So obviously, Vegas is not expecting points. I'm not expecting points. I'm going to side with the team at home in this spot. And the team that is used to winning these low-scoring, ugly games, and oh, by the way, has already won a low-scoring, ugly game against their opponents, Yeah, I'm going with the Sooners. Their last two games are not impressive. They beat Mizzou 17-6. They beat LSU 17-13. But the games were in Norman, and they found ways to win it. Again, I'm watching Ty Simpson. He is not looking like the same guy either. Simpson, guys, was supposed to be in the Heisman race. There was a lot of debate. Who's the best quarterback in college football? Who's going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft? For the longest time in the season, Ty Simpson was the projected number one pick. You look at the mocks last, like a month and a half ago, Ty Simpson was supposed to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. It's undoubtedly Fernando Mendoza. I assume he's going to go first. I assume the Raiders are going to trade or either pick Mendoza, whatever, as long as it's not the Jets, right? But still, Simpson was in that conversation. He's nowhere near that now. He's been a below average passer in the last couple games. Alabama had a great start against Auburn and completely couldn't figure it out in the second half, but they didn't win that game because of Ty Simpson. Well, okay, Simpson made some big throws. Made some big throws to Isaiah Horton. He found him in the end zone in that fourth quarter to take the lead. That was massive on the fourth down. I understand. Simpson made big plays. But if you take the entire game for what it was in the full 60 minutes, Ty Simpson was not great through 60 minutes. He made big plays in big spots, but he has not been an all-around great quarterback throughout the entirety of a football game. That's a problem. They beat Auburn because of the run game. Yes, Ty Simpson had 3 touchdowns. Look at the entire game he plays, though. That's not a quarterback masterclass at a Ty Simpson. Okay, a lot went Bama's way. Penalty-wise, a lot of things went their way. They had some big conversions. Isaiah Horton made some plays for the 3 touchdowns, and Jam Miller in the O-line had a day against the Auburn Tigers. I just think too much has to go Alabama's way to be Oklahoma. And also, too, it's like, all right, Kalen DeBoer, here's another big spot for you. Right? I don't think his job's on the line because obviously the expectation at Alabama obviously is winning in national championships is a precedent set obviously by the greatest college football coach at least I've ever seen until Kurt Signetti, Nick Saban obviously, right? And there was talk at least in the media that DeBoer was going to leave Alabama for Michigan. DeBoer has quickly shot that down. I think I would say Alabama too personally, but regardless, there is going to be obviously a lot of pressure on DeBoer to win this football game. I just think Oklahoma is going to do it again. I think Oklahoma is going to watch that SEC title game, and nothing Bama could do in that game. Ty Simpson lost. They send pressure on Ty Simpson. He's getting rid of the ball quickly. Nothing downfield. And also, Ryan Williams, again, non-factor for Alabama. This dude was on the cover of the video game. He has 600 yards this year, and he's not even on the field every passing down. He hasn't had more than 3 catches since October. Isaiah Horton's the number 1 receiver for Bama, right? It's pretty clearly Isaiah Horton. I'd argue number 2 is Jeremy Bernard. Number 2 is Jeremy Bernard. Number 1's Bernard, probably 2 is Isaiah Horton. Ryan Williams is the 3rd receiver on his football team. That's a problem. So where is he going to transfer? I don't know. But that's my thing. Bama's just got too many problems right now. And is Oklahoma a well-oiled machine? No. But their defense carries them in games. Their defense wins the field positioning battle. They put John Mateer in great spots. And they carry the load. Okay. I'm going to take the team at home, the team that's going to be playing with the crowd, the team that's going to be playing with momentum, and the team that already knows that they can win a game like this. There's doubt creeping in the back of the mind of Alabama. There is. Like it or not, they've already played this game. They welcomed Oklahoma into Tuscaloosa. It was a game that could have and probably, yes, would have ended the playoff hopes of Oklahoma this year. And Bama failed. The pick 6 from Simpson early in the game. They're in the red zone. Pick 6, down 10-0. Again, Mateer did not even play a good game, but Oklahoma just made all the right plays to win it. And now there's doubt in the mind of Alabama. And now you got to go on the road and win this one. Don't think so. I think things are going to change this postseason, obviously, because last year was formatted a little bit weird, but there is still yet for a road team to go into an environment, or a road team hasn't won on the road yet. Easier way of saying it. Road team has not won in the college football playoffs just yet. Will that change? Maybe. But I don't think it's changing with the night game. Oklahoma at home, plus money, absolutely. Give me the Sooners. Now, the other big one. Miami, Texas A&M, give me the Miami Hurricanes. Absolutely. This is why I said maybe it changes this week. I think it does. I'm taking Miami to beat Texas A&M. I am. should be electric, right? It's Kyle Field, but it's not a night game. Which, is the night game thing a little overrated? Maybe. I think it matters, though. It's just an environment. It gets in your head at times. Games are tougher to play at night. And that's why, like, the comp, right? So last year, Alabama, Oklahoma was Indiana, Notre Dame, right? And Notre Dame, this is actually only a 10-point loss for the Hoosiers, but whatever, right? Notre Dame punched Indiana in the mouth. Jeremiah Love with a 99-yard touchdown, whatever, okay? I want to forget that game. Indiana was in a great spot early, too, and they worked through a pick and whatever. It's okay. This is the equivalent Miami A&M to Penn State SMU. And yes, Kevin Jennings was in hell last season at University Park. At University Park last year at Beaver Stadium. University Park. At Beaver Stadium. Happy Valley is what I was looking for, my goodness. I get it, but it was a weird spot. It was a whiteout at noon. Here's the thing. Again, it's tough to go to Kyle Field and win, but it is easier to go here at 11 o'clock than it is at 6:30 at night. I just want to say that, right? I think I would rather be in Miami spot than Alabama spot. That's all I'm going to say there. Anyways, I do think Miami is better than Texas A&M. I think A&M is not as good as we thought they once were. And sure, I think they benefited from a relatively weak schedule. For as weak as an SEC schedule can get, okay? We want to talk about how difficult it is in the SEC, and I understand it is, 100%. It's a difficult schedule to play. Their toughest SEC opponent this year was Texas, and they lost. The best SEC team that they beat, Mizzou or LSU, who's better? I think it's LSU, but whatever. If you think it's Missouri, it's Missouri. Their best win undoubtedly is Notre Dame, and that's why they're in here, right? If they didn't beat Notre Dame, obviously they wouldn't be in the spot, right? Notre Dame can't execute football 101 on the extra point, so Notre Dame wins the game. Marcel Reed with a miraculous victory for the Aggies in South Bend, Indiana against Notre Dame. It was phenomenal. And if I can say anything about Texas A&M, it's that they can score. They have looked so beatable though in the second half of the season. And I'm not. It's not that I'm turning against A&M here. I'll explain myself. I was very confident with A&M towards the end of the year though, because I was like, all right, well, they look beatable, but Marcel Reed finds ways to win. When they need to play in the clutch, they can do it. And obviously, I'm referring to the Arkansas game, I'm referring to the LSU game, and I'm referring to the South Carolina game. LSU game, they won by like 25 points, but it was a competitive first half, and then the second half happened, and then the Aggies pulled away. Arkansas, competitive game. A&M was winning for the most part for the entire game, but regardless, Arkansas scored 42 points in Fayetteville, but the Aggies still won. It's the South Carolina game. Yes, they won. They came back from down 30-0. I get it. But the fact that they had to do that in the first place, yeah, it's trouble. But I was willing to ignore it because I was saying, you know what? Okay, well, they found a way to do it. And I don't think they're ever going to find themselves in that hole again. They just had a horrible start to the game, and South Carolina looked great. We've known South Carolina's got talent, and Lenora Sellers just renegotiated his contract at South Carolina to come back next season. If that doesn't sum up college football in 2025, what does? I don't know. Anyways, I was willing to look past it. Then the Texas game happened. Non-playoff team Texas. And we knew A&M was going to be in the playoffs, but if they had won that game, they would have punched their ticket automatically to the second round, because even if they had lost the SEC title game, they still would have got a bye. It would have just been, okay, Texas Tech, you get screwed out of they would have just screwed Texas Tech out of the bye instead. They would have had two SEC teams with the bye, and Tech would have gotten to host JMU this week. Anyways, it was just a really bad game played by Marcel Reed and A&M. It's the worst game I've seen them play all year long. They're up early. Second half, my goodness. Texas just puts it on them. I'm no longer confident in A&M, especially now against the Miami defense. I don't want to call them underrated, but I don't think people fully understand how good the Miami defense is. Just because they play in the ACC and no one really watches ACC football that much. And the fact that they, lost Louisville and lost to SMU, they are yet to lose a game because of their offense, or because of their defense, though. SMU game, their defense plays well. I mean, it's just an overtime game. Beck throws the pick to put them in bad spots. It's just SMU played well as in Dallas. Louisville game, they did not lose that game because of the defense. There has been so many games, though, where the Miami offense has just struggled, and that, it has to fall on Carson Beck. Carson Beck obviously had the 4-interception game earlier this year. He's had his fair share of struggles, but he's been playing better in the last couple games, though. And, the defense obviously is the premier spot of this Miami team. I can talk at length about, all the players I like on this squad, but, You should know who Ruben Bain is, right? Elite prospect going into the NFL draft. He has been phenomenal this season for Miami. Jacoby Thomas, really good DB for this team. Mohamed Tiore, really good linebacker for the squad. They've got players, okay? It's all about the offense for me with Miami. If the offense gets going, I think A&M's going to be in trouble. Because I think defensively, Miami, I don't know if they're on par with Texas defensively, but they may be. And yes, they have to go to Kyle Field. But again, it's a day game. If you're going to upset a team, I think it's going to be at 11 o'clock in the morning. Because that's when this game starts. It's a really early spot for Miami and A&M. I think the Hurricanes get them. It's not like Carson Beck's not used to playing in big-time football games, though. It's not like he is, right? You've got a lot of quarterbacks in this college football playoffs who are yet to play in a big game. I mean, and I'll say Fernando Mendoza. Well, no, the thing is, Mendoza has played in a big game though, because he played in the SEC or a Big Ten title game, right? But there's a lot of quarterbacks. Trinidad Chambliss, we'll get to him in a second, but he hasn't played in a big game yet. Dante Moore, no real big game experience, right? In postseason experience. Marcel Reed, no big postseason experience. Carson Beck's got that. Can't say the same about a lot of quarterbacks in this postseason, right? A lot of them have not played in big time spots. Ty Simpson has not played in a big time spot yet. John Mateer, I mean, he's played in the Holiday Bowl, but not a huge spot. It's a new environment for a lot of players, right? So that's where I think Carson Beck's experience can come into play. He's played in SEC title games before. He's played in postseason games before. Sure, he got injured in the postseason game last year, but Beck's played in big games, and I like Miami to get it done here. I like Miami to go out and beat Texas A&M. I think they will do it. I think the Hurricanes offensively are going to be okay. They've got a wide range of great receivers. Malachi Toney, Marion, CJ Daniels, there's some good receivers on that team. Mark Fletcher and Shamar Brown. There are some good running backs as well. It's going to be up to Carson Beck offensively to lead that offense into battle. Defensive-wise, though, man, they've got some players. Again, Ruben Bain, he doesn't have the best stats because he gets doubled all the time, but Ruben Bain is one of the best defensive players in college football. And there are a lot of great defensive pieces to Miami. And I just don't like A&M coming off a loss. Comes down to that. You look good all year long, and yeah, the Notre Dame one's impressive, but now that we have the loss in play, and it's not like, okay, because again, my mindset was they just step up in the fourth quarter, and they step up late in games. I don't know if I can say that now. Because all of a sudden, guys, Miami is the best team they have played all year long in the playoffs. It's the best team that by far, not by far, because they played Notre Dame, but it's the best team they've played all season long. And you can make the case, sure, A&M's the best team Miami's played too. Yes, Miami's played Notre Dame. They played Pitt on the road. And sure, again, Pitt on the road might not sound great on paper. Guys, Pitt was ranked. Miami went there and blew them out. And it's a game that did not really get talked about much because at the time it was like, all right, great, Miami's winning, but they're not going to rank them ahead of Notre Dame. They can't make the ACC title game, so no one really cared about it. All of a sudden now Miami's in the playoffs and, oh, wait, hold on. This team has quietly been blowing teams out. Blew out Syracuse, and I know Syracuse struggled. Blew out a good NC State team. Talked about them earlier. Blew them out 41-7. Went to VTech, blew them out. When, okay spot. James Franklin obviously gets introduced as the head coach there. Blow out VTech. Blow out Pitt on the road, who was ranked. And sure, other teams have done that too. Notre Dame has. But I like Miami here. I like them a lot. Pringle, when he's been doing the run game recently, he's been massive for the Hurricanes, right? I think, is he a true freshman or a redshirt freshman? Might be, I think he's a true freshman. He's been huge in the run game with Mark Fletcher as well, but it's been a lot of Pringle. I'm going Miami here, guys. Big game experience, advantage Miami, and I just don't think the home field is going to play that big of a factor in the spot. Yes, again, last year, Penn State, obviously the whiteout during the day was weird. Got to Kevin Jennings, but Miami's a much better representative of the ACC this time around, and I think that the Hurricanes, who have always been the best team in the ACC, they slipped up earlier in the year, but by the end of the season, the best team in the Atlantic Coast is by far the Hurricanes, and they're gonna go to Kyle Field and win. I have no confidence right now in Marcel Reed and Texas A&M coming off the Texas Longhorns game. I'm going Hurricanes money line on the road early Saturday morning. Miami wins plus 145. If you don't like the money line, take the spread. Plus 3.5, plus 145 for the Canes to go into Kyle Field and win at College Station. Now, we have the G5 playoff games. Well, G5 versus Power 4. Tulane goes to Oxford to take on Ole Miss. It is a rematch of their first encounter earlier this season where I actually had Tulane spread. Was I wrong about that? Undoubtedly. Okay, they lost 45-10. Jake Retzlaff started the game 0 for 11, 0 for 9 passing. And here they are again. It was the game where that clip kind of went viral of Lane Kiffin throwing the alley-oop off the backboard to one of his DBs after they intercepted Jake Retzlaff or forced a turnover against Tulane. And yet Tulane is back in this spot. They win the American Conference somehow, some way. After getting blown out in the Alamo Dome, we thought their season was over after getting blown out by Owen McCown and Robert Henry in the Alamo Dome. Same UTSA team that lost to Army, but it's okay. They somehow find a way to win 4 consecutive games. They beat Memphis on the road. They get into the American Championship game, and as underdogs, they beat North Texas at home. And Tulane, who I believe is the worst team in the postseason, finds their way in. And they're only 17.5-point underdogs. Do not get me wrong. I will be cheering for the G5 this entire playoff run. I will be. I'm cheering for them. Indiana, I want to win the entire thing. Shout out to Mendoza. My Mendoza jersey is right here. Let's go Hoosiers. I should have this prepared, but let's go Hoosiers, right? I want the Hoosiers to win the entire thing, but I am cheering for the G5 because I believe that is important, and I hate the talk heads and the media are saying, oh, we need to get rid of the G5 because we need more SEC teams. And no. You got to keep the G5 involved because we can't get back to a situation where we're going to have G5s in the future going undefeated and not getting the playoffs. I understand the 2 G5 thing's kind of ridiculous, but that's the ACC's fault, okay? That's completely the ACC's fault for not getting their conference champion in the game, and Virginia's fault, but it's okay. The 2 G5 thing's kind of ridiculous. But you know what can fix everything? A 24-team playoff. You can still put 2 G5s in, and that can basically serve as a bye week for teams 1 and 2. It would be basically this year. JMU plays Signetti in Bloomington, and then Tulane gets to go to the Shoe and play Ohio State. I think perfectly makes sense. Anyways, Ole Miss versus Tulane, a rematch you never thought you were actually going to get, and a rematch you didn't think you wanted, and you probably still don't want. But now you have it on ESPN or ABC. TNT, excuse me. I'm sure TNT's thrilled. TNT got... Did they, pick these games? Did ABC get... I assume ABC got first pick. ABC got Bama, Oklahoma, and Miami A&M, while TNT got Tulane, Ole Miss, and JMU, Oregon. That sucks. That really sucks for TNT and Turner. These are their only bowl games, too, of the entire schedule. Oh my goodness, they got nothing else. At least the CW network, I think, has the Arizona Bowl. Oh man. Here we are though. Tulane and Ole Miss on TNT from Oxford. Now, no Lane Kiffin. OC's still here though at Ole Miss. He's been granted the A-OK by Lane. Lane is cheering for Ole Miss. He has been very vocal on Twitter about this, that he's cheering for Ole Miss to get it done. He leaves for LSU, and I think it sucks. I think it's crappy, but at the same time, if I was offered all that money, yeah, I'd leave too. So I don't really think I can blame Lane that much. It is weird, though, and I've talked about it before, and I've talked about it at length on my TikTok, Greedo Plays Clips, check it out, about how, Lane's been building Ole Miss football for the last 6 years, and now he just finally gets him in the playoffs. They have the best year in Ole Miss history, honestly, and he leaves. Sucks, and doesn't get to coach the playoffs. Well, will that affect Ole Miss going forward? Yeah, it's not going to affect him here. They'll still blow out Tulane, guys. Now, when they get in the second round and play Georgia, now we're concerned. Now it's a big concern. As of right now, though, yes, Ole Miss should still blow out Tulane. The Green Wave with Jake Retzlaff at quarterback. It's very crazy, too, how Jake Retzlaff, former Brigham Young quarterback, fell very short last season. They were very close to getting in the playoffs last year at Brigham Young, winning the Big 12. They just lost a couple games down the stretch and ended up in the Alamo Bowl against Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and Coach Prime of Colorado. But Retzlaff was the quarterback at BYU, was supposed to be the quarterback this season. Bear Bachmeier wasn't even at the program when Retzlaff was supposed to be the starting quarterback, and Retzlaff got suspended, and eventually he left the school, / he got kicked out of the school for having, of course, premarital sex. So Retzlaff is now at Tulane. Again, he is I'm not even going to go that far. He's an enjoyer, obviously, of sex. So he's not at Brigham Young anymore. Okay, sure. It is crazy, though. He's in the playoffs and BYU's not. Where I think BYU's deserving of being in the playoffs. And if Tulane and BYU played, I think BYU wins. But regardless, Jake Retzlaff is at Tulane, and he has gotten his team in the playoffs. He's playing all right. I don't know. He's a real big threat on the ground. They're going to, like, if Tulane gets into the red zone, they run Jake Retzlaff. They have a run game, and they've been going to their freshman back quite a bit recently. McClure, he's been a big part of what they do on the ground. They've rotated running backs all year long, but currently they're pretty stuck on and set on Jamari McClure, who has emerged. Again, their freshman running back's been pretty big for them. But they do run Retzlaff a lot once they get into the red area. John Summerall, head coach, obviously, former Troy coach, goes to Tulane. He's leaving at the end of the season. He's already announced that he's leaving, but Tulane, unlike Ole Miss, is allowing him to continue to coach before he goes to Florida. Now, is Retzlaff going to follow him to Florida? I don't think so, right? I think Lagway's not in the portal, right? Unless I'm missing something. I haven't seen DJ Lagway enter the transfer portal yet. So, is Lagway going to stay, or is Retzlaff for his senior year going to go to Florida, or is Retzlaff going to stay at Tulane or go somewhere else? I don't know. That's, again, something to look forward to in the future. In terms of this specific game, and I know I haven't talked about the game specifically that much because, guys, we know what's going to happen. I believe this is the biggest blowout of bowl season in general. I'm sorry. And this is why I did not want Tulane to win. Because if North Texas had won, and, it's all fair, Tulane beat them, but if North Texas had gotten here, who UNG just made some bad mistakes, man. Mess makers throwing picks that are getting tipped. They got shafted on a muffed punt call when, it's a kick catch interference and they don't call it. So Tulane gets the ball in the 5-yard line, to close the first half. Tulane got screwed in that game. I will say that. But I wanted UNT to win that game, who got screwed. I wanted UNT to win because at least I thought, okay, offensively they can keep up against an Ole Miss. They may not win, and that'll be a big factor that I'm going to talk about in a second with JMU and Oregon. But at least they can keep up, and they're going to put up points. I don't know if Tulane scores. Ole Miss really pressured Retzlaff, and then eventually what they did in that game, they would line up 5 down or 6 down, and they would just start dropping the linebackers. And Retzlaff, who has been getting 5 guys sent at him all game long, then it says, oh crap, they're only sending 3 or 4 now. I have a little bit more time, but now I'm looking, surveying the field. Oh, look. Oh, now I'm sacked. Right now, coverage sacks are happening. Or he's getting the ball off and he's throwing the dirt. Or he's getting the ball off and he's just trying to get it off so he doesn't get sacked. I mean, they really played Retzlaff well. And Ole Miss now goes to their D coordinator as their head coach. I can guarantee defensively they're going to look good. Offensively is the real issue. Trinidad Chambliss, former Division II quarterback, who I have a feeling is going to get his years back because I think they're going to make D2 not count, I think. Pavia rule. I know Pavia is JUCO. I have a very good feeling Chambliss is going to be back next year and he's probably going to be quarterbacking LSU, but we'll see. Anyways, Trinidad Chambliss, D2 quarterback from Ferris State, has been playing well. What is he going to look like without Lane Kiffin? Well, his OC's still around. So offensively, I think they're going to be all right. I think they're going to be a little bit of a mess, but defensively, they should be fine. Kwan Lacey's been a huge running back for them all year long, right? Lacey's got 1,300 yards. And again, where do the future of these Ole Miss players, lie? I don't know. I think Ole Miss, I think Lane Kiffin's going to take Kwan Lacey. I think they're going to take quite a bit of these players. I mean, their OC's literally coaching them right now, and he's going to LSU after the end of the season. So it's a really weird spot when you have also the future Florida coach on the other side of the field. Weird stuff in college football, man. I'm taking Ole Miss via a blowout. I've already seen Tulane play this team, and they can't score on them. Defensively, Tulane is the best out of the American, I think, defensively speaking, at least out of the really good, just the teams in general. I think they're the best defensive unit. The game you need to look at, though, Army's defense has been solid, but whatever. The game you need to look at is UTSA versus Tulane. And yes, you can look at, Tulane, Ole Miss all you want to. That one was bad. But this one's more recent. Halloween Eve at the Alamo Dome, and Retzlaff and Tulane get blown out 48-26. And they had a garbage time score, if I'm not mistaken, to make the score look a little bit closer. That's the concerning one. Now you're going on the road to Ole Miss in the playoffs. That crowd was at like 70% capacity for the first Tulane game. Now it's 100%, and it's going to be loud as hell. I hate it for Tulane, man. And this is why, again, I didn't want them in here, because now you're going to get the argument, oh, well, the G5 team shouldn't be in. This is the best G5 team. They're really not, but whatever. The best G5 team we're going to talk about in a couple seconds here. I will give Tulane credit. They beat Duke. They beat Northwestern. They have Power 4 wins. Guys, unfortunately, going on the road to Ole Miss is just such a horrible spot for them. Quite easily, the Ole Miss Rebels dominate, and I think minus 17.5 is automatic here. That's just, it's not enough points, man. You know what's not enough points? 21.5 for JMU. I think, I don't know. I'll say this. This is one of my least confident picks of the entire video. Don't have a doubt in my mind Oregon's going to win. I've watched JMU quite a bit. I think their offense can kind of hang. At least for the first half, I think they can hang. Second half, once Oregon makes some adjustments, JMU might not score in the second half. Guys, first half money line, JMU. Maybe. If they win, I think if they win the toss, they're going to take the ball. This is going to be a hot take. I think they're going to score on their first drive. I think they're going to score a touchdown on their first drive. Liberty in the Fiesta Bowl 2 years ago, yes, they ended up losing like 56-7. But Salter and Liberty scored in their first drive in the Fiesta Bowl 2 years ago against Oregon. I think there's a chance JMU does the same thing. I think JMU can sustain that long term in the first half. JMU first half spread plus 13.5. If that was 14.5, I'd be all over it. 13.5, I still think is playable. Obviously, if I'm talking about money line, I think it's there. JMU first half over points is 6.5. I would definitely take that. First half winner JMU plus 710. I might sprinkle, maybe. I don't know. It's just like, again, I'm not like as confident on this as I am on the last one. It's a good spot though if you're looking for plus money. I think that's where JMU can really help you. I'm not going to really get into player props that much. There's a couple guys I'd look at. I look at Alonzo Barnett over 144.5 passing yards. I think that's atrocious. I think alt passing line for Alonzo Barnett, 200 over 199.5 at plus 320. I think that's great. I know Oregon's got a good defense, guys. JMU's going to throw the ball all game long. I know the secondary for Oregon's good. JMU's going to throw the football. I know Wayne Knight's a really good running back. Wayne Knight's got 1,200 yards this season. They're going to be forced to start throwing the football. I really believe so. I'd also look at Alonzo Barnett rushing yards of 25.5. I know, again, it negates it if he gets sacked. He's going to get more than 25.5 rushing yards, okay? I would also look at receiving props, and I'd probably look at Landon Ellis over 28.5 receiving yards. That's way too low. The books are expecting James Madison to not even complete a pass against Oregon. Legitimately, that's what they think. They think we're gonna see a Phil Rivers type game, and all respect to Phil, what a game against the Seahawks. But I think the Bucs are expecting dump off, okay, 10-yard pass. I think JMU's gonna air it out a little bit more than that. I think so. They're not afraid to take chances, which I know I said that earlier, and that obviously I meant that in a negative connotation. But I think James Madison's a little bit different than these other G5 teams. I've always said James Madison's the best G5 school. Their only losses at Liberty by 14 points. Same Liberty team that beat Miami, don't forget. The only reason why they've always been ranked lower than the American squads is because they don't have a Power 4 win. And UNT, I don't know why UNT is ranked higher than James Madison. I always had James Madison ahead of them, but whatever. Yeah, it never made sense. But I kind of get Tulane, but Tulane had more losses. I don't know. I really think this should be JMU at Ole Miss and Tulane at Oregon. And I think even if the committee didn't believe that, I think they should have gone to it. Give us a new matchup. Also, I think James Madison has a way better chance to beat Ole Miss than they do Oregon. But whatever. Oregon's going to win. I think JMU can cover the spread. I really think so. Guys, they score so many points. The Wazoo game scares me because they almost lost to Wazoo on their own home field. They won by 4 points, and Barnett could not get going, but Wayne Knight had a big day, and they had some big touchdowns late. But they went 8-0 in the Sun Belt this year. Shout out to the Sun Belt for getting a playoff team this season. I think JMU's I think they can cover. I really think they can. Dante Moore in a big game. Hasn't played one yet. The biggest game he's played all year long. Indiana comes into town, and he did not play well. Now, I know James Madison's defense is nowhere close to the Indiana Hoosiers. I completely understand. I'm not even trying to compare the two. I get it. But it is a big spot. You're at home in Eugene, and I think, I'm not that close to Eugene, but this sounds like something. I went outdoors a couple hours ago, okay? It's no secret I live in Northern California. I went outdoors a couple hours ago, and I couldn't see 15 yards because of the fog, okay? It is cold as hell right now in Northern California. Eugene's a good 8-hour drive from me, but I believe it's even colder out there. It's going to be freezing in Eugene. It's going to be Saturday. It's going to be 40 degrees. Why is it colder in NorCal than it is in Eugene? What? Whatever. Like Oregon, whatever. They're closer to the North Pole. Okay. Still though, it's going to be a cold game, which again, I think might actually favor JMU, because if more weird stuff's going on and just, crazy things you can't, expect and can't approach and can't, deal with in practice, and just weird conditions, that's going to help JMU. The weirder this game gets, the more it favors the Dukes. I really think so. A team that, yeah, they struggle to tackle. I know they do. Watch the old Dominion game and watch a lot of their games, and Troy had their shots. I get it. I'm telling you, that offense, if they can just get off on the right foot, if they can just go out there and put together a drive early, I think they can stay in the game. Because what happened against Wazoo scored first, JMU gets a pick six, then Wazoo scores again, they had a big 48-yard touchdown, and then another touchdown to close the half, and JMU had a 68-yard touchdown to tie the game, and then had a 58-yard Wayne Knight rushing touchdown to win the game at the end. But regardless, right, Wazoo punched him in the mouth first and scored first. If JMU can just see the confidence of getting on the board first and scoring, that's why I think if they win the toss, they're taking the ball. But if Oregon wins the toss, they're going to take the ball too. A lot of what I'm talking about in the first half, spread in general, plus 21.5, it's all dependent if JMU gets the ball first. If they get the ball first, I think they're going to put points on the board. Their kicker isn't that bad either. It's Morgan Suarez. He's not horrible. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's the Sun Belt Kicker of the Year. I could be wrong. I might be wrong on that. I believe he's been, from what I've watched at JMU, Suarez has been pretty solid for them this year. He's got a decent leg. So they got a kicker who has been pretty solid, I think, right? Yeah. Okay, Suarez is consistently hitting from 40-plus every single game. Well, at least recently he has. Beginning of the year, he has not. But he's hit 47 yards, 48, 45 yards this year. Okay. So they got a kicker who they can get into range with. Senior kicker and Morgan Suarez. I just think they need to see it go through the net. It's a basketball term, but you know what I mean? They got to see one go through the net early. And now we got the confidence. And maybe some doubt starts to creep in with Oregon. I have no doubt that Oregon's not going to win. I think Oregon's going to win the game. Oregon's played some tight ones though, guys. Wisconsin came in there and only lost by 14 points. I know common opponents doesn't always work like this, but this is not a crazy take. JMU beats Wisconsin right now. Oh, I don't know. Actually, I don't know about that. They play a close game against Wisconsin, I'll say that. If the game's at JMU, I think JMU beats Wisconsin. Oh god, I'm really taking JMU plus 21.5. Either I look really smart or really stupid here. I'll just say that. Either I look really smart or really stupid. Guys, the G5 fans, for all of us who watch Sunbelt action on Tuesday night, CUSA on Wednesday night, Maction at the end of the year on Tuesday night, for all of us out there, this is the game. We know Tulane's getting blown out, okay? For all the G5 fans, for the hardcore fans, G5 fans who watch all year, or watch, weekday football, this is the one. This is the one where we have a chance. Give me Alonzo Barnett. Give me James Madison to just keep it close. I'm not saying they're going to win. I would not even, I'm talking first half money line, maybe first half spread, yes, over first half for JMU. I think it's going to fall apart in the second half. There is a slight chance, though, I think James Madison could be winning at halftime. If they punch Oregon in the mouth first, and I hope they've got some different stuff going on this week. You know what I hope they do? I hope they use Matt Sluka. Matthew Sluka, former Holy Cross quarterback, was a great runner of the 1,000-plus yard rusher for the Holy Cross Crusaders 2 years ago, went to UNLV last year, played 3 games for the Rebels, stepped away from the program. Haji Malik Williams became the starting quarterback, but he stepped away from the program because he didn't get all of his NIL money. At least that's what he claimed. Got another year of eligibility. For some reason, went to JMU, even though they had an established starter in Alonzo Barnett. But they haven't used Sluka a lot recently, but at the beginning of the year, they ran sets for Sluka. I just hope JMU has something stupid up their sleeve of 2 quarterback formations. Do what Nevada did with Chuba Purdy for Matthew Sluka. I just throw him at receiver. Put 2 quarterbacks in the backfield. I need something creative. And I'm hoping I think the coaching staff at JMU is pretty solid from what I see. And from what I've watched. They're pretty creative. Get some run for Sluka. He's not the starter, obviously, but he can be helpful and throw Oregon off. And that's why I think second half, I think Oregon's going to destroy him. So that's why everything I'd look for here, I think still the 21.5 should be fine. But I think, in terms of first half money line, first half spread, first half points, yes, I would go all on that for James Madison. If I'm going to bet this game, I would do that. Because the second half, then Oregon makes adjustments and they'll be fine. But that first half is where JMU can, find ways to cover this 21.5 point spread and maybe be winning at halftime. Or maybe they just lose 56-0 and the G5 is just over forever. So either or, I mean, that's all that's on the line here, right? I mean, that's what's on the line. Either JMU can play competitively and only lose by like 21 points or lose by 17 points, or the G5 is just done ever competing in the playoffs. And instead of this next season, oh, great, instead we get to watch Oregon versus, it would be BYU, the team I've been campaigning for all year long. No, it would have been Vandy. I don't want to watch. No, it would have been Vandy. I don't give a damn about Vandy. Poppy is a loser. Don't even get me started about that bum. Oh my goodness. Yeah, dude. Okay. I'm going with JMU plus 21.5 in Eugene. Again, either I look really smart or really stupid. So let's hope. Next up, I'm not going to spend too much time on these. I'm not, because I honestly I've watched the playoffs. I've not watched much FCS football, so I'm not going to take probably more than 3 minutes on these games, if that. The FCS playoffs were down to 4. Obviously, last week we had the Celebration Bowl, but on top of that, we had the final 8, essentially, the quarterfinals of the FCS playoffs. As our final 4 now is Montana State, Illinois State, and Villanova. Montana went out and beat the South Dakota Coyotes. They beat them 52-22. Montana State went out and beat SF Austin and put it on SF Austin offensively. Montana State's really good. Illinois State continues their miraculous run as they went out and beat UC Davis. They won 42-31. Big time for Illinois State. And Villanova went out and barely scraped by Tarleton State on the road. But a huge victory for Villanova against the Tarleton State team, myself included, I thought was pretty solid and potentially could have been in the... honestly, yes. I thought Tarleton State was going to go to Frisco and play in the FCS championship game, but now here we are. So, first game, Montana versus Montana State. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on these games just because, again, I'm not that big on FCS football. But Montana State is 12-2. They started their season with back-to-back L's. Oregon on the road, obviously, and then South Dakota State. South Dakota State is a good, team in the FCS every single season. Not concerned about that. They ended up losing in the playoffs, but Montana State's won 12 in a row since. This is a team that was in the FCS championship game last season against the North Dakota State Bison. Obviously, their starting quarterback last year is now with the was with the Las Vegas No, Malott was not with the Raiders. What team did Malott get signed by? It was the Raiders, right? Yeah, Malott was signed by the Raiders. Okay, yes. That was Brady's guy. Brady liked Malott quite a bit, and they switched him to receiver, and then he went to the Saints, and I don't think he's in the NFL right now. But anyways, Tommy Malott was the starting quarterback of Montana State last season. They replaced Malott this year. Obviously, he graduated, went to the NFL. They replaced him with Justin Lamson, former Stanford Cardinal quarterback. Had a great year in the G5 this year for Montana State. If you had to leave the ACC, this was the spot to do it. And there's going to be a pathway back probably to the new Pac-12 or the Mountain West next season for Justin Lamson. If he wants it, if I'm Justin Lamson, I'm staying here. You're not going to see more success than you're going to see at Montana State, the best team right now in the FCS. So Lamson's been great. Montana State's won 12 consecutive games. Their playoff run, again, wins over Yale and Stephen F. Austin. And their last regular season game, a victory over the Montana Grizzlies on the road in Missoula, Montana, right? Yeah, Montana State's in Bozeman, I think. Winning the game by 3 points on the road. Huge victory to close out the year, becoming the Big Sky champions. So, regular season champions. Well, yeah, champions. Montana, the Grizzlies, are led by quarterback Klee Ayat, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Sophomore quarterback out of Hawaii. It's his 3rd season, but his redshirt sophomore year, he's been really good for Montana. Again, not probably close to not as fundamentally sound as Justin Lamson, but a good quarterback, right? Ayat puts up big numbers every single week, and the Grizzlies have come off back-to-back wins over South Dakota colleges in the FCS playoffs, beating South Dakota State and beating the South Dakota Coyotes again in back-to-back games, getting them now to the spot against Montana State. They've lost one game all year long. It is to, though, Montana State. Obviously, both teams play in the Big Sky, and they see their fair share of opponents in the Big Sky. You see your great teams in the Big Sky and then your really bad teams in the Big Sky, but that's neither here or there. Now you get the rematch. I'm going with Montana State here. I'm going Montana State. They won the first game on the road. They should now probably be able to get it done at home this time around in Bozeman, Montana. Yeah, Bozeman. Okay, I got that one right. Yeah, Montana may have the better offense on paper, but Montana State defensively is really good. And it's just Montana State's offense, again, they might not be flashy. They might not wow you with anything, crazy, but they play fundamentally sound football from what I've seen. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm some FCS expert because I watched the Group of Five. I watch 15 conferences of college basketball. I watch the Power Four. I have enough stuff to watch and keep track of. So I don't watch FCS football too much. From what I've seen, though, out of the playoffs and the research I've done about these squads, I don't think Montana State's going to make as many mistakes. I think they play more fundamentally sound football. And Montana State, to me right now, other than NDSU, who got eliminated by Illinois State, does feel like the best FCS school and program currently running. So I'm going to go with the Bobcats to win this game. Montana State gets it done at home, -3.5, -170 for Montana State to advance to the FCS championship game for the second consecutive season, where they will take on, I think, Illinois State. I think so. Unranked, unseeded. Illinois State continues to win. A team that had to play in the first round of this thing, and they just keep on winning, right? They beat North Dakota State. They beat UC Davis. They beat Southeastern Louisiana in their first game, right? Beat Southeastern Louisiana in the first round of the playoffs. They have to go on the road again. This is an unseeded team. They go on the road to Southeastern Louisiana, win. Then they go to North Dakota State and pull off. I mean, legitimately, guys, Illinois State going out and beating North Dakota State is the equivalent of if Tulane beats Ole Miss this weekend. And no, I did not say JMU because I believe JMU has a better chance of beating Oregon than Tulane. So legitimately, that's like if Tulane this week goes into Ole Miss and wins, that's the equivalent of what Illinois State did and beat North Dakota State, who is but no, it's not even close though. I mean, yes, game wise it is, but that's like if Saban's Bama team was just Ole Miss this weekend. And Saban was still coaching, and Bama was still part of the there's still the dynasty Bama team, and Tulane just this week just randomly went out there and upset them. That's what Illinois State did. They lost their last regular season game against Southern Illinois. They were a 5-3 team in conference play this season, and Southern Illinois obviously didn't even make the playoffs. And here we are. Illinois State finds a way to win 3 in a row. NDSU won their conference, beat them by 17 points earlier in the season at Illinois State, and the Redbirds went to Fargo and win. They, picked up a huge 2-point conversion to win the football game, and now here they are. They last week went to Davis. I thought the run was going to end. They go to UC Davis. I thought they're going to lose. No, they handled the Aggies out of the Big Sky, and here we are. How about Tommy Rittenhouse, senior quarterback for Illinois State, fifth-year senior, 3,000 yards, 34 touchdowns, 11 picks. And Victor Dawson, senior running back who's been great, played at Cincy last season, started his collegiate career at Merrimack. Didn't get any run really at Cincinnati, but was a big-time running back for Merrimack. Now starting and he has over 1,000 yards for the Redbirds. Can the miraculous season continue at Villanova? The CAA runners-up, because Rhode Island won the CAA, right? Yeah. Yes, Rhode Island won the CAA. They lost to Davis, obviously. The answer to that question is yes. Will the miracle run continue? Yes, it will. Illinois State's going to go to Villanova and win. I believe so. Nova, 2 losses this year are Penn State and Monmouth. Their starting quarterback, I think he's a senior. Pat McQuaid, senior quarterback for Villanova, 2,900 yards this season, 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He was the quarterback at Nichols last year. And did not play that well from what I've seen at Nichols, but regardless, comes to Villanova. He's been very solid this season. Guys, if Illinois State's run has gone this far, I think it's going to continue. If they can go to Fargo and win, go to Davis and win, go to Southeastern Louisiana and win. Guys, don't forget, they went to Brookings, South Dakota and beat SDSU in their final road game, which basically put them in the playoffs, I believe, with the at-large. They win road games. Now, if they play Montana State, they're going to be 13.5-point dogs in the FCS championship game, and they'll probably get blown out. I just don't think Villanova's that great. I think, guys, NDSU's better than Nova. South Dakota State's better than Nova. I'm going here with Illinois State. I am. Nova, huge victory last week against Arlington. Game that I didn't think they were going to win. Their playoff run has been a blowout win over Harvard because they finally put the Ivies in the FCS playoffs and it didn't go well for them. Victory over Lehigh, low-scoring game. They go to Lehigh and win 14-7 against the Mountain Hawks. And then that victory against Arlington State. Great win. Big rushing day out of Jabril Mace, who's had 900 rushing yards this season. Again, 3rd year at Villanova, redshirt sophomore season. I'm going with Illinois State to continue the miracle run and I think they're going to get it done. I think they will advance to the FCS championship game, and they're plus money too, so I like that. Illinois State to advance to the FCS championship game, plus 105 for Illinois State, plus 1.5, absolutely. Give me the Redbirds to get it done on the road at Nova, and give me an Illinois State versus Montana State FCS championship game in Frisco, Texas, the home, obviously, of the Xbox Bowl. Okay. On to our final bowl game. If you got this far in the video, I really appreciate you, because if you really stayed this long to go listen to me talk about the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, you are a real college football fan. Did the FCS playoffs. We've got one more game. And the reason I'm covering this one, even though it's played next Monday, and my next video is going to come out on Monday, is because this game's going to be at 11 o'clock in the morning. Why is this game on at 11 o'clock in the morning? No clue. Monday Night Football doesn't come on until 5. Gonna put this at 2 o'clock or 1:30. I thought it was at 1:30 last year, the game that Fresno choked. Anyways, here we are, Wazoo and Utah State at 11 o'clock in the morning. Wake up and watch some college football. Awesome. Okay, that's great. Weird spot. And okay, so yeah, the reason why I'm doing this right, the video next week's not going to be up in time for this game. So we'll start with the Tuesday games and the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl for our video next week. And obviously next week we're going to have so many games, but not the college football playoff games, right? College football playoff games will be the week after. So anyways, so just a lot of bowl games next week. And that's peak bowl season though, right? Day after Christmas, all the bowl games, the weekend after Christmas, all the bowl games. That's peak college football right there. Anyways, okay, Utah State Wazoo. So famous Idaho Potato Bowl. I gotta check the transfers because again, I'm seeing like different things on different websites. So while I've been doing this, I've been checking different websites to see what's happening in the portal because On3 and 24/7 have different reports. So I need to make sure that I know again who is still at schools and whatnot. But regardless, we have Bronco Mendenhall's Utah State Aggies, who I did know, right? Yep, Braden Pagan is not playing this game. Pagan, leading receiver for Utah State this season, junior, 900 yards this year. Bryson Barnes' best target, not playing in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. He's already in the transfer portal. So that's a big loss for Utah State in this game. Really their only loss going into this one. I don't think, there's no one really else who's out of this game. And for Wazoo, they're without... they're only without their backup quarterback, Jackson Potter, who got beat out by ZV Eckes as the season went on. Potter is now going into the portal. I think he should go play in the FCS. He'll get some really good run in the FCS, or he can go, he's only a sophomore. No, he should go to the FCS for a year and then come back. Or he can go play in the Mountain West, maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here talking about schools for Jackson Potter. Wazoo, Utah State, two teams that pretty much have their main guys. It's just Utah State's going to be without Pagan, who is a big threat, right? Braden Pagan has had a monstrous year this year, so they're going to have to look now to Brady Boyd and Anthony Garcia, who's a quarterback turned receiver this year. Those are the guys that we're going to have that Bryson Barnes is going to be throwing the football to this year. I think Utah State should be fine here. I think they should win this one. I understand Wazoo's played a lot better in the second half of the season, and we mentioned earlier their competitive game at JMU. Their competitive game, we did not talk about the competitive game at Ole Miss, competitive game at Virginia. They've just been good enough to lose all these games, though. And how do I know that, and why can I apply that to this game against Utah State? The fact that they went to Corvallis and lost. That's why. They just play close. They just play, again, competitive games on the road, but they do that against everybody, no matter how good you are. Again, they went to Oregon State and lost. Yes, they got their win back to become bowl eligible. They beat Oregon State the final game of the year in Pullman 32-8. But at Wazoo, they just play good defense. Offensively, they're nothing incredible. Eckes just does what he needs to do. They manage, again, he's a good game manager. They play the field right. They control, again, the field positioning and field battle the entire game. And they just, again, they play good fundamental football. Bryson Barnes is a game changer. And I've been talking about this, and this is why I was so glad Utah State got to 6 victories, and I was there for the game in Fresno where Utah State clinched their ticket into bowl season, where they beat the Bulldogs in a come-from-behind effort. Bryson Barnes has been playing his ass off his entire collegiate football career, and it's all boiled down to this year at Utah State. I think he'll get a look somewhere as a practice squad player next year in the NFL, but Bryson Barnes this year, leading rusher for Utah State, best passer for Utah State, I think by far the Mountain West Player of the Year. I don't really know who else you could give it to. I think it's got to be Bryson Barnes. Calandria, maybe. Maddox Madsen definitely can't win it. You can't give it to the running backs and Riley or Gaines. I think it has to be Bryson Barnes as the Player of the Year in the Mountain West this season. Jack Lane, it's got to go to Bryson Barnes. And Lucky Sutton, it's got to be Bryson Barnes. So This has been the best player in the Mountain West this season. He's been so good with his legs. Passing-wise, Bryson Barnes, okay, but his running ability really is what makes him special. This guy started at Utah back in 2023 when Cam Rising got injured. They forced him out the door last season at Utah because, Rising's back, just to get injured again, and they got stuck starting 18-year-old Isaac Wilson at quarterback for the Utes last year, while Bryson Barnes found his way to Utah State, and he's found at home at Utah State, and he's been really good for this team. I think Bryson Barnes alone is going to really dominate Washington State. In his last collegiate football game on the Smurf turf at Boise, I think Utah State's going to get this done. I really think so. They did actually just lose to Boise, but that game was at home, competitive game. They're just playing good football right now. They are. And I know, again, they're 2-2 in their last 4. Lost a 3-point game at UNLV where their kicker couldn't make a 30-yarder and then a 40-yarder to win the game. Missed both 2-game winners. And then lost a 1-point game at home to Boise State. I think they're playing good enough football. I know that they can score. I know it. I know what Bryson Barnes can do. Receiving-wise, again, no Pagan really hurts them. I completely understand. But they've got enough talent, right? They've got Anthony Garcia, former quarterback or receiver, Brady Boyd. You got, the backs are going to leak out as well. It's usually Javen Jacobs, who's their receiving back. He's got 350 yards receiving this season. But again, they're all built on that run game. And yeah, Wazoo's got a decent defense, but I've seen them lose again to Oregon State on the road this year. Now they're going to go to a neutral site on the Smurf turf and play Utah State. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Aggies to get this one done. I'm taking Utah State money line and spread in this game. -2.5 for the Aggies and -145 as well for the Utah State Aggies to get it done from a week from today on Monday at the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Folks, that'll do it for our Week 17 college football predictions. We're obviously not done. We have still like 3 or 4 more of these videos to make every single Monday. So next week we'll be back for a bunch of bowl games. I mean, we got the Pop-Tarts Bowl next week. We got the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. We've got big-time bowl game upon big-time bowl game upon big-time bowl game. You're not going to want to miss that next week. Actually, we only have like 3 more of these videos to make. Regardless, we got big-time bowl games next week, so you're going to want to join us same time next Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Bowl season, man. Best time of the year. Absolutely love it. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you did disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back next week for more college football predictions. Folks, thank y'all for watching. And Mamba forever.